Hi guys, this is Justin Miller and this is 7 Steps to Selling Your Own Home. Okay, so step 1 is to have an exit strategy. The most responsible thing to do is before you list your current home, you want to have all of your ducks in a row regarding the purchase of your next home. You need to know 2 things. You need to know how much do you qualify for as is without selling your current home. You need to know what that number is. The second thing you need to know is estimating how much profit you think that you'll make off the sale of your current home. Add that as cash assets to whatever you are approved for as is, and then that will tell you total what you can really plan on getting qualified for in terms of a mortgage. Or even if you are paying cash for your next home, there's still a timing issue because you want to make sure that you have your next place lined up by the time you sell your current home. Because if you don't, you can end up selling your current home too soon and without having a place to go to yet. You got to think about these things. Okay, so step 2 is to know what your current home is worth and know how much you can anticipate to walk away with, to actually walk away with at the end of the day. Whatever that number is, that's going to affect your purchasing power on your next home, which relates to step 1 of having an exit strategy in place to know where you're going to go, what home you're going to buy, in what price range, in what area, and around what time. It all connects together, and at the root of that is what you qualify for to purchase, and you can't know that unless you know what you're actually going to walk away with once you sell your current home. Okay, so step 3 is getting your financing in order in terms of your mortgage. And the lender can kind of guide you in terms of what the best option would be for you, considering how much money you're going to walk away with on the sale of your current home, plus how much you can afford as is without selling your current home. Getting your financing in order so that you can expedite that entire process of buying your next home or knowing for sure what you're going to qualify for in terms of purchasing power on your next home before you list your current home, so that you don't list your current home thinking that I can buy this $500,000 house and that's the price range I'm going to look in. You go and you look and you fall in love with the place, only to find out after you've already gotten under contract on your current home that you only qualify for $350,000, and now everything's changed. Now it's time to actually start getting ready to list your home. So this is step 4, which is preparing to list your home. The first thing you need to do is declutter and depersonalize your home. So you're going to have to pack eventually anyway. If you're going to have to pack eventually anyway, go ahead and get started early on some of that packing. And while you're doing so, pack away the things that you don't absolutely have to have on a daily basis. What this does is it does 2 things. It helps you get started packing, get a head start on your packing, and it also declutters your house at the same time, making it look bigger, more open, more appealing. And you also want to depersonalize. The people who are coming in to buy your home don't necessarily want to see it as your home. They want to see it as their home. After you've done those 2 things, you want to make sure that the home is nice and clean, obviously, and then have professional photos done. Professional photos, not with your iPhone. It is worth the $150 to have professional photos done. Trust me. Your home will sell faster, it will sell for more, and in the end, you're going to end up making back way more than $150. So make sure that you have professional photos. And when you advertise it, you're going to need to vet prospective buyers. So inevitably, whenever you advertise it, however you choose to advertise it, someone will contact you with interest on your home. Now, that person will either be on their own without a realtor, which is dangerous because they may not know what they're doing, or they'll have a realtor, which is dangerous because you don't have one and the realtor knows what they're doing. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are taking necessary precautions to ensure that A, this buyer is legitimate, and B, that they know what they're doing. Okay, so you want to make sure this buyer is qualified. And the best way to do that is to ask for an approval letter from a mortgage lender. Okay, you want to have an approval letter, a buyer with an approval letter that has their name on it, that's at least within the last 60 to 90 days, preferably. If they give you an approval letter that's a year old, it's no good anymore. A lot changes in a year. Okay, you want a buyer who has an approval letter that says that their loan amount or the total purchase amount is going to be equal or greater to whatever you are selling your house for. Because what you don't want is if you're selling your own home on your own and you're kind of fuzzy on how it all works, and then the buyer is coming in on his own and he's kind of fuzzy on how it all works, you've kind of got the blind leading the blind. Bad things can happen, feelings can get hurt, and that's how lawsuits happen. So you got a guy that's serious, he's qualified, approved, ready to go. Now the next thing you got to do is navigate through the contract process. And this can be really sticky if you don't know what you're doing. So when you're in a real estate transaction, you got to understand that it's not just between you and the buyer. It's between you and the buyer, their agent if they have one, the buyer's lender, the buyer's appraiser, who is designated to the property from the lender, the buyer's inspector, who's going to inspect the home after they get under contract, the title company, who is responsible for vetting your property, the property being sold, making sure that there are no liens or encumbrances. So there's all these different parties that are involved in this real estate transaction. And our job as realtors, if you were using a realtor, your realtor would be the one coordinating between all of these different parties, making sure that all these things that need to get done within the deadline prescribed in the contract, and they each have a different deadline in order to make sure that the process goes through smoothly all the way to closing. You got to know what is due, what actions are due, when they're due by, and who's responsible for doing them. And then making sure that they get done. Because if not, it could lead to a default in the contract by the buyer or even you, because you also have obligations that you have to satisfy as the seller, sometimes more or less depending on the contract, but you have your own obligations that you have to satisfy as well, and you got to make sure that all these things are done within their prescribed deadline in the contract. Okay, so the seventh and last step is the closing process. So now at this point, let's say that you have gotten under contract with a serious buyer, you've navigated through all the steps, all the things that needed to get done, got done within their deadlines by the right people, and now it's time to actually close. So in Texas, the buyer and the seller close at separate times, at the same place, but at separate times. Okay, so you'll go and sign the documents. The buyer will go and sign the documents. And once the documents have all been signed by everybody, the title company will process all those documents. They'll either look at them themselves, or if there's a lender involved, or the buyer is a lender, they'll have to send it to the lender to get signed off on by the lender, and then sent back to the title company for their final stamp of approval. And then your money will be sent to you via wire. I get a lot of questions about closing costs. Do you, the seller, have to bring money to closing? The answer is no. What they're going to do, the title company, they're going to deduct all of your closing expenses from your net proceeds that you would otherwise take away as profit from the sale. So if you're supposed to make $100,000 and your closing costs are $10,000, what the title company will do is they'll take that $10,000 that's your closing costs as a seller out of that $100,000 in profit, and they'll give you the difference. They'll give you a check for $90,000. So you want to make sure that you have wiring instructions ready to go for the title company as well, so that after closing, they can just wire the money straight into your bank account, and then it's done, and you are done, and you have successfully closed on your home, and now you can move on happily with the rest of your life. I hope you found the information in this video useful. Of course, I couldn't go into too much detail in a short amount of time. To really cover all the specifics would take a very long time, and no one would watch that video. So I did have to skim through a lot. However, I hope you at least took something away from this. And if you have any further questions or need further clarification, feel free to reach out to us. We don't mind giving free advice. Okay. No obligation, just call us, ask us a question. We'll do our best to help you or point you in the right direction if we can't. Our number and our email will be down here in the footer. Feel free to reach out anytime. We really look forward to hearing from you, and best of luck.